Yes, guys, welcome back to another episode of Teams Like Brighton podcast. And it's safe to say we did see a couple of those moments on Twitter from West Ham fans. They were not happy, but I've got a big smile on face. I don't care. 2-0 win. Happy days. Richie, your thoughts on the match?
Well, yeah, it was. I think, as you said before we came on air, it was Brighton were coasting. It was much easier than I think most people would have thought. Brighton were really well organised. West Ham were disjointed and toothless and rudderless and all that jazz. But also, what was quite interesting to see was that I think 2 shots, 2 goals in terms of on target. So clinical, XG. Throw that away.
Gone
Yes,
gone are the XG days. Gone are the XG days.
Yeah, so I mean, yeah, I think so. I spoke to I think it was Leandro, Trossard, Joel Veltman, and Alexis McAllister, and then Potter. They were, obviously post match, and they basically all said that they weren't, they weren't playing. It wasn't their best level. They've definitely played better. First half, they were solid, if unspectacular. Some of their passes were a little bit errant. Graham Potter said that the sort of dry surface didn't really help with that kind of slick into play. But second half, it was a very, very professional performance. It was a very good example of Brighton's away prowess, just being so smart, very good game management, and West Ham were chasing shadows. What about you?
Yeah, I completely agree. I felt West Ham were just so one-dimensional. And I just felt like that they just had one approach to the game, and it was so easily read by our players so quickly. Like when I was watching from the stands, whenever West Ham were hitting us on the counter, Dunk didn't panic. He just looked. He looked where Antonio was, and he just stood right next to him, and it just killed any threat West Ham had. Particularly for about, I'd say for the best part of 65, 70 minutes, that was the case. And then West Ham took it up a notch, and that was when Sanchez put on 2 or 3 spectacular saves.
Yeah,
Which
2 in
really
quick succession. Yeah.
which really annoys me because I think he's got a save bonus on fantasy and he's on my bench. So I'm very annoyed by that. But
Who's starting?
Ramsdale.
Oh, well, to bet they are
He's
top of
more
the league. So
cleany. He's more cleany, so I'm happy with that. But I thought the passing, the movement, everything was just clicking. It was all those little frustrations we had with Potter ball over the last previous 2 seasons have almost been swept away with how well we were passing. Like the movement we had in that second goal was incredible. That
yeah,
pass from McAllister in deep, flick on from Gross, and it 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 tore West Ham's defense and midfield in one. McAllister's passing, I thought every time he got the ball, every pass he made, it was always forward, it was always through the gaps, and it just confused West Ham, and they had to really reorganize themselves quickly because they didn't know what to do. They couldn't read the game at all. I was really enjoying that.
yeah,
And I think one person that also stood out for us, we have to talk about him. It's Pervis Estupinan.
yeah. Not a bad debut. Not a bad debut.
No, not a bad debut at all. And he didn't look rusty. He didn't look out of the pace. He was hungry. He was keen, and he was hugging that left wing big time. And he just wanted to make that impression. He was so keen for that assist. He wanted to get someone to score a goal, and he nearly did, setting up Solly March for that header. And how that did not go on target, I'll never know. Even March was frustrated with himself. But I mean, March isn't renowned for his heading, so fair play to him to get in a position where he's completely free. So frustrating it didn't go on target for him. But overall, what a debut. Even he came on the second half, halfway through, and just fit right in.
Yeah, I think it's another example of just seemingly, Brighton moving on from selling some of their best players. Just get on with it. New players come in, step up to the mark, sorted. So yeah, obviously he signed this week for just under 15 million from Villarreal and came on just after the hour mark. And I thought what was interesting was that before he came on, Brighton were playing with 3 centre backs and 2 wing backs. What was it? Solly on the right and Trossard on the left. And then when Estupinan came on, I think they switched to a back 4. Estupinan came as the left back. Trossard switched to the right and was in a more attacking role. And lo and behold, in that attacking role, he goes off and scores after that sumptuous, sublime assist from Gross. So, and yeah, he looks like his deliveries are really on point. Yeah, especially that one for March. But yeah, he looks like another good signing. I think we mentioned in the previous podcast. Tim Vickery, South American expert, said that he's another one of these Ecuadorian beasts. He's got a fantastic energy, can really get up and down the wing. So yeah, he looked good, and it will be interesting to see because I mean, I think last year it was quite clear that Brighton were not particularly good in the back 4. They really struggled, especially during that sort of 6-match losing streak in February and March. And but obviously when he came on, they went to a back 4. So maybe they could have a bit more success and a bit more flexibility. So if there's personnel missing, they know that they can go, okay, we don't do a 3 and a 2 with wing backs. We can maybe stick with a back 4. But yeah, I mean, he seems like already. Obviously, it's very, very early days, but it seems like he's could be a good replacement for Cucurella.
Absolutely, and he'll have many more opportunities throughout the season as it goes on, and hopefully at the end of it, we could see them outdoing our predictions. Maybe we could be going for a European tour. Who knows? Too early yet. I'm too excited. I'm still too happy from yesterday's result. Too happy. But another player we have to talk about is Trossard, because I've been a big fan of Trossard since he started. He got off the ground running at the start of it, didn't faded away at times, and it just didn't seem to click. But now it's just almost like he's become the main threat. There has been talk about him going to Everton. Whether or not that's got any legs to it, I don't know. But Richie, you also got some chat about his contract situation.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. In Graham Potter's post-match press conference yesterday on Sunday, a journalist put to him, "Are there any efforts for him to sign a new deal?" Quote, because he's in the last year of his contract, and interesting enough, so yeah, if you go on, for example, Transfer Market, it will say his contract runs until summer of 2023. He initially signed a 4-year deal when he joined from Genk, apologies, in 2019. So yeah, when asked about that, he said it's not a year left, it's more than that. So that would tend to imply that he has at least the option of an extra 12 months or I don't know. Yeah, probably that's probably the case. So that would keep him up until 2024. And yeah, he's 27 now. He's turning 28 later this year, but he seems to be in the prime of life, or as they say in Friends, the prime of life. He's smashing it. I think I can't quite remember. It might be like something like 8 goals in his last 10 or 11 games, and continue from his really good form from last year. And just a little bit more from Potter on Trossard's performance. He said he was at a strong level last year, I guess last season, in fairness. If you see his goal record and what he gave us, he is playing a role that has a lot of responsibility in regards to the wing back. He defends for the team when he has to and contributes to our play generally. And obviously he is a forward attacking player, so to assist and to score is important for us. And obviously he was the one who set up Welbeck, who was then fouled in the penalty area, and then obviously McAllister scored from the penalty spot. So it was nice that he did that, and I thought he was really good. So he is definitely a player who seems to be getting better, and I think it would be crazy if Brighton let him go. I hope they get him down to a new deal. But even if not, I think it is a little bit of a risk moving to a different club if he did, because the World Cup's coming up this year. He will want to play in that. He's not a starter, I believe, in the Belgian sort of starting 11. He's more of a squad player. So I think it would be a risk joining a team where he might not play regularly.
Yeah, absolutely. And you can see the contribution he's made to us in that match and throughout the end of last season, start of this season. He's really engaged in Potter ball, and I think he's been very much a big factor in how successful it's been. I think if Potter sees him go, he's going to be. I think he'll be one step forward, two steps back for us, because I think he's so fundamental to what he brings to the team, what he brings into the squad. He will be a big miss. So hopefully, the next priority would be addressing his contract situation. Um, but what a goal! I've got to say this. What a goal! Such a great finish as well. Clear through one-on-one situation, just slots it in, and the celebration to boot as well. What a celebration as well. Love it.
That's from his son, isn't it? Is it son that's the inspiration for that one?
I believe it is. Yes, I
Yeah.
believe it is.
Yeah,
But
because when he got put through, I just remember I looked up and I was actually preparing my tweet of goal because I was just like, he's not going to miss this. He's just there, the form that he's in and the quality that he possesses. I was just like, this is. I actually thought he might go for like a really naughty, like little chip or just top bins type thing, but in the end, he just went for the smart. Just I think he waited for the keeper to maybe move or held his position for for a long time and then stuck it past him. But yeah, I mean that Pascal Gross just a little flick, and then he got it was a little bit like sort of in rugby terms, it was a little bit like a hospital pass, So the ball comes into him, Gross. There's a guy about to take him out, and he just gets a nice little flick,
yes,
and then bang, and then
yeah.
but yeah, beautiful.
I completely forgot about where that ball went. I just saw him just get clattered, and I just appealed for the foul without realizing that Trossard's clean through and goal. I think I was the only one around me that saw that him Gross get absolutely clattered. And also as well, I'm just saying this now just because I have to, as a Pascal Gross fan. What a performance from him as well. I want public apologies from every single Pascal Gross doubter there's been for the last 4 or 5 years. I cannot allow that blasphemy to ever be resurrected for any reason at all. The man is a footballing god. Pascal Gross deserves statues, keys to the city. He is. I love him, and he was superb. I don't care what anyone says. I don't care how delusional I sound. Pascal Gross is a footballing genius.
Preach, Tomo, preach. Just saying, when were you in the weigh-in yesterday?
Yes, I was.
What was it like in terms of I guess the atmosphere and because I remember sort of some of the songs were like we're Brighton Hove Albion, we're taking that, and just it was a lot of ribbing towards the West Ham fans who were pretty quick to turn on their team, but also not happy at all with what they saw.
Yeah, well, I mean, the atmosphere was pretty good actually. It was, I'm trying to think from previous times. Having it having a packed away end helps a lot. And I think if you have quite a lot of people who are chanting at the back, it travels down because of roof and acoustics, I guess, or somewhere along those lines. But I think everyone there was just there just to have a good chant and a good laugh. It's just annoying the fact that we can't hear what the lower end were chanting. I was at the far back. I was up in the gods. So you can't really hear there. So you kind of have to rely on yourself. It's almost like as if there's two separate away sections. You can't really hear that much.
Yeah.
And by the time you can hear what everyone else is saying on the lower part, it kind of there's a bit of a delay. So it looks a bit disjointed almost. But I mean, I think we've been used to it now for about 5-6 years now. Can't complain. We know what to expect now when you go to a ground like the London Stadium. I still like it. I think it's a good stadium to be at. It's just a case of just sing a little bit louder so that everyone else can join in. Really, that's kind of like my thinking about it. But
It is a maze, though. It is a labyrinth. Like I actually got lost trying to get to the press room. I ended up going 2 floors up. There's basically it's just a huge, obviously, stadium, but it seemed like they were quite, I don't know, short staffed for it. But there was actually someone who was working for Hawkeye, so the kind of the company that's with the sort of Golden Line technology, and he was like, "I think it's down that way. I'll show you to the lift." So I was, I would have been wandering around for hours before the game, just been like, "Is it here?" So got rescued. But yeah, I think it's just too far away from the pitch in terms of the stands for me. That's my main gripe.
Yeah, that's just a common gripe that everyone has with that stadium, but it does the job. And I think as well, for like from a West Ham fan's perspective, if when it's bouncing, it is loud there. Like, I know people compare it to Upton Park, but Upton Park was special for so many reasons. London Stadium is now your ground now, and they made it their own during the Europa League run. I still enjoy going there purely because we're unbeaten there. So I do look forward to a cameo draw at the very least. Who knows? In terms of being lost, definitely don't feel like that. Turnstiles go through. There's the stairs. Up we go, and there's our seat. So ours is a little bit easier than finding the press box. But as well as everything is going on in the press box, and we'll touch on your football scran in a bit. What other key things have happened over in the press conference from Potter as well after the match?
So yeah, I think another one that was a lot of has been written and has been said about Neil Mopé's future. He's been linked with Nottingham Forest, Everton, Fulham, and Salernitana in Italy. There's been talk of a £15 million move, and then Fulham were linked with a loan move for him, and so but he was included in the squad, an unused substitute, so he's still waiting for his first minutes. It'll be interesting to see if he's involved against Forest Green Rovers on Wednesday. I think, because I don't know. I mean, just on a side note, I mean, if he did leave afterwards, I think, would you want to sort of have a goodbye in front of fans? Play a game and then leave instead of just not. But yeah. So before I say what Graham Potter said about his future, what do you reckon? Do you think he has played his last game, or do you think he's going to have a nice little goodbye before?
I mean, part of me thinks that it'd be great for him to have that goodbye moment, but from a Bloom Barber perspective, shall we
Yeah.
say, putting him in the Carabao Cup on Wednesday night means that he's cup tied. So does that decrease the value that we're looking to pay for if we're selling it to a
Oh,
team that
good
wants to
point.
take the competition seriously?
Yeah.
So I think on the bigger picture, all Mo- I think all Mopé wants to do is just play football. That's all he cares about at this point. He just wants to play regularly, and he wants to be one of the first team players on that team sheet. That's not to say like that's not me saying like he's got an ego or anything like that. He's just all he cares about is playing football. That's all he wants to do. He doesn't want to sit on the bench. You can see he got frustrated at the end of last season that he didn't feature. So I think the best option for him would be I would say for him to leave, but personally I think he's a good enough asset for us in the squad. Whether or not he wants to be downgraded from deputy to Welbeck, if he is going to be deputy, or playing second fiddle with Undav, it's down to him. But I mean, when you get told you're one of the first team strikers to go into maybe a squad rotation or um, one of the fringe players, you don't want to. You've got every right to say thanks, but no thanks. I want to play football. I'm off. So I like to think he stays. He adds depth, quality and depth, but at the same time, you want to play football at his age. So
Yeah. Yeah, it was an interesting one because I guess the last episode that we did went out before Graham Potter's press conference on Friday. So a little bit to catch up on, because he did talk about his future on Friday. So he said, when asked if he was on the lookout for a Mopé replacement, Potter said, "Not necessarily, because there's a lot to happen. As I understand, I don't think Neil is desperate to leave. We are certainly not kicking him out the door. From a personal perspective, I can probably count on one hand how many players that have helped me become a better coach, the same as Neil." And then fast forwarding on to after the game yesterday, does seem as if a transfer exit is maybe not as close as we first thought or was initially reported. So he said on Sunday it sounded a little bit more imminent last week, but as we know, the transfer window is not predictable. I would say it's less imminent now in regards to an exit, and hence why he was in the squad against West Ham. I think you have to realize they're human beings with families, with careers and lives. If there is a decision to make, they need to some time to think about it, but there isn't a decision now, so we're happy to have him in the squad. So I still, if sort of my gut feeling is, I do think he will leave before September 1st deadline. But I think maybe they're just waiting for the right course of action for him going forward.
And I think the next question is, hypothetically, if he does go, will we replace him?
Well, what was it? I think was it Charlie Parker Turner came on the pod. I think at the start of last week and said I think they are, on the lookout for a striker. And Potter himself said that they are sort of on the lookout for someone of the profile of a Danny Welbeck.
Yeah.
So I think they'll be looking. And as I said before, and I've written before, I do think, for all his faults, Neil Maupay, 26 goals in the Premier League, top scorer the last 3 seasons for Brighton. That is someone who's, you could say that he's not a guaranteed goal scorer in terms of a level, but he still provided those goals. And you don't know if Dennis Undav is going to fire them in, and Welbeck could still get injured. And then you've got Enciso and Ferguson, who are 18 and 17 respectively. So I do, in terms of Brighton's recruitment, it's been much more hit than miss of late. But I do, as I said before, I think it would be a risk allowing Maupay to leave and not replacing him.
Yeah. I think there's not much to really add to that. You say Enciso and Ferguson are knocking on the door. I'm sure they're keen to break into the first team. Both of them have had a taste of it in pre-season or in last season in Ferguson's case. So it would be interesting to see.
Would you start those two at Forest Green Rovers, Enciso and Ferguson, or how would you? Because there's lots of fringe players who could maybe be given a go.
Yeah, I mean, let's jump straight into Forest Green Rovers. Obviously, the Carabao Cup tie. I can see Enciso playing. I like to see Enciso, Ferguson, Kozlowski, Colwill,
Van
Heck playing. Probably Matty Clark as well, if he's involved.
I think he might be off soon, so I don't know.
He might be off. Yeah, there's a lot of talk in there. I'm trying to think. Obviously, Steele will probably be making his cup goalkeeper appearance.
Yeah, maybe another chance for Estupinan, perhaps.
I don't know from that point. It's a tough one, because do you want him to run out 90 minutes at Forest Green Rovers, or do you want him just to focus on the mould of, no, you're in the Premier League squad.
Yeah.
Got to focus on that. That's the treatment you're going to get, which is totally fair enough. I think if I was Potter and I saw how he did against West Ham, I'd be thinking doesn't need minutes on Wednesday at all.
Yeah.
I like to see a few of the other youngsters play, like Offia, perhaps.
Andrew Moran, maybe.
Lamptey get a start.
Yep.
Trying to think, probably Matoma. Give Matoma a start. Just see how they all click and just throw them in. Just be like, okay, guys, welcome to English football. Go for it. Have a laugh. Yeah. I know Potter in the past with the League Cup has previously played the youngsters a lot. I remember one time when Villa were home. I think it was his first ever Carabao Cup.
Yeah, September 2019. Yeah, it was Villa 3-1 loss, but he literally played the kids.
Yeah, he literally played a bunch of teenagers who did pretty well in the grand scheme of things. So I would like to see him throw a lot of the kids in the deep end again, see how they do, so they know where their level is and how to improve and stuff like that. And that's the key thing with youth development. It's just about the improvement. It's not about the immediate achievements. It's about we want you to go here. You're currently there. This is why, and this is how you're going to jump up to there. But you need to have this moment to just push yourself forward a little bit. Those kind of moments. So I wouldn't be surprised if it's going to be a heavily rotated team, a completely changed over 18 squad, if you will. But I I fancy our chances anyway. It'd be interesting to see how Enciso does. Kozlovsky, I like to see how he does. Maybe in Wepu, just because
Yeah.
he's been making cameo appearances, and that, and I think that kind of appreciates how good the talent is in midfield at the moment. Like the likes of Enoch Mwepu on the bench, making a cameo appearance every now and then, because we're doing so well at the moment. But I know if something doesn't click in midfield, and Mwepu is going to come in and he's just going to he'll put forward his mark on it, because that guy does not hasn't really put a bad foot wrong, a foot wrong at the moment either. So it'd be interesting to see. But what are your thoughts on the trip to Forest Green Rovers?
Yes, I'm looking forward to heading down to, I think, was it Stroud area. Got my trains booked, so looking forward to it. But yeah, I mean, it's so one of my favourite away days last season was Cardiff City away in the second round of the Carabao Cup. I think the average age of the starting 11 for Brighton's team was 21, so I felt pretty old. But yeah, they did fantastic. You know, a championship team who had a strong team out. They beat them 2-0 at on their own patch. I think it was Jakub Moda was obviously injured, and then Andy Zakiri scored the goals. But there were debuts for Ferguson, Moran, Afaya, Sungui, and then I think Caicedo also made his debut in that game. So yeah, I would like to see them give it a chance. And this is, no disrespect to Forest Green Rovers, but they are a League One team, so you feel that you could, give some of the fringe players a go for sure. They currently sit 20th in League One. They lost 3-0 at the weekend to Plymouth. They've actually, we were talking about this before. They've got Connor Wickham playing for them now. That's a blast from the past. So,
And I'm sure many of the travelling fans in that sold out away section will be giving him a warm round of applause for the ex Crystal Palace winger.
For sure. But yeah, just I was doing a little bit of reading up on Forest Green Rovers, and a couple of factoids for you. The UN recognised them as the world's first carbon neutral football club, and it was described by FIFA as the greenest team in the world. And Hector Bellerin, I'm not sure if he's still at Arsenal, but he grew to prominence there, became the second largest shareholder of the club in 2020. So who knew? So yeah, should be good.
So many interesting stats there. I like their new stadium design as well, meant to be in completely zero net carbon or something along those lines.
Yeah,
which will be interesting to see if that actually is. That'll be a tough task, but I mean, what they do there is pretty impressive in terms of what they do for the benefit of the environment and being green and all that. But yeah, but I think the main question will be, how good will the Scran be, Richie? We've got your Scran right here. West Ham.
Yeah, so this was at West Ham, and I mean, what else can you say? I mean, look at the size of that sausage.
Classic bangers and mash for me.
Yeah, I've never had like a food that sort of goes off the plate. It's too long for the plate. A lot of people were chuckling away.
I'm trying to figure out whether or not the plate is just really small.
No, it's not
But
small.
then it's the program right next to it. So you've got a decent idea for size there. But yeah, interesting choice. Did you go
good.
up?
It was good. It wasn't as good as Manchester United's exquisite cuisine, but it was pretty good. And then there was also a nice fudge chocolate cake. Here we go. Don't quite do it justice.
I was wondering if it was chocolate fudge.
Yeah, it was literally just like, you know, in a bakery when it's just like a row of cakes and it was just on this table. I was just like, what? I'll take that. So yes, and again, I love getting free food, so I will never complain.
We can't complain at all. It does look good. The one thing that does concern me slightly, and I love it whenever I'm in the press box myself, I just love how brave some of the journalists are, and I can just see it here. If you look at the top left, you can see a water bottle there. I love it how brave some journalists are when they just have like liquids and food so close to their laptop. Because if that goes wrong, and I have seen it go horribly wrong in the past, um, I've never heard so much swearing before in my life when people actually drop water and
Yeah.
food on their laptop and then their laptop stops working.
Well, that actually is my bottle.
Is that
So
actually your bottle? So yeah,
that little one
that's
in
a
the corner.
respectable
That's me.
distance away. I've actually had people that had mugs of tea on the actual laptop itself, knocked it, and yeah,
Goodness.
cue a parental advisory flash up before your screens straight afterwards, because yeah, what you hear next was not exactly pre-watershed approval. Yeah.
But one thing that I think is just going away from the food. Obviously, tomorrow it's Graham Potter's pre-match press conference for Forest Green Rovers, so it'll be interesting to see what he says. You know, there might be more on the future of Van Heck, who's been linked with a move to Sunderland on loan. Obviously, there could be more potential outgoings with Mope or other kind of fringe players. And then obviously, yeah, it'll be the match itself on Wednesday. So it's and then a couple of days later or a few days later, we look forward to Leeds United at home, which is I mean, who would have thought that you've got third place Leeds against fifth place Brighton?
Who have got a huge 6-pointer for the European spots. Huge 6-pointer. But
But
what,
before that, what's your Forest Green Rovers prediction, please, Tomo?
2-2. I've got look 2-2. Me going 2-2 on every single game so far has worked well. We're undefeated at the moment, so I'm gonna go 2-2 draw.
Yeah.
Just because it seems to be working for the greater good.
Yeah. For anyone listening, Tom is going to do this for every single game for the entire season in the hope that Brighton soar into Europe.
Until it stops.
Until it stops.
Until it stops. And then in that case, I'll probably take it a little bit more seriously. But yes. But yeah. Richie, what about you? What are your predictions?
2-1 away win. I'm like you, I'm 0 for 3 on predictions, so I'm hoping that I get it fourth time as a charm. So
a bit more of a realistic and more achievable, more likely outcome to that match, I feel.
So if it was 2-2, then what would you say for penalties?
Oh, good question. It goes straight to penalties, doesn't it?
I think it does.
5-3. Steele saves twice because he's a machine.
He did. I remember, was it one of, I think the first FA Cup game that I covered for Brighton was Newport away at the start of 2021. And yeah, Jason Steele, after having an absolute howler right at the death of extra time to let Newport score, he just completely missed a cross and then they tapped home. But then he was he was lethal in goal. I think he made 2 or 3 saves.
But that's why he wanted to do it. That's why he wanted to do it. He wanted Newport to give him the chance, and then he's like, nah, penalties all mine. But he's had a bit of a reputation for that. Very good at saving penalties. So you can't go wrong for it. Can't go wrong. So I'm 5-3 win on penalties.
Nice. Sounds good.
Right. Anyway, guys, we will leave it there. Thank you very much for joining us. Be sure to subscribe, like, and subscribe on our YouTube channel. We will be getting the audio podcast out soon. Just bear with us. We are working on it. But until then, please enjoy the YouTube channel. Make sure to comment on your predictions and thoughts on West Ham, prediction for Forest Green Rovers, and also as well, talk about Leeds as well. Why not? Because it's going to be a very busy week for us, very busy week for any Brighton fan, and it's going to be an exciting one. So yes, until then, Richie, pleasure as always.
Thank you, and keep following teams like Brighton.